Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k show. We are down a man the entire week.
Man down.
Man down, man's not down. The man is in Alaska right now,
Enjoying his life.
doing some deep sea fishing while we are here. It's hot now.
Bacon.
Why am I playing golf? I just have a golf hat. I just came from the golf course.
Yeah.
It's too hot for that.
Can you imagine playing golf in Alaska? I don't know if there's many courses there, but man, I just feel like the weather would be perfect.
Well, it would be different here. You hit the ball out of bounds, and you're worried about rattlesnakes. Up there, you hit the ball out of bounds, and you're going to get mauled by a moose or a bear. You know,
yeah. All kinds of wild.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go retrieve your ball. Hey, bear.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, it is in. So I don't know. A lot of people, Justin, have different criteria on how they judge one of the best places to live. This is not going to be a shock to you. But right now, ranked number one of all of Arizona, the best city to live in right now is Chandler. They are known as the fast food cuisine of the entire state of Arizona. More fast food is sold in Chandler than any other state or any other city. And that's how I base where I'm going to live.
Of course you do. Of course you do. That's surprising though. I would think that more fast food would be sold in, more faster pace areas, maybe like downtown Phoenix. I don't know.
Well, number 2 is Scottsdale. Number 3 is Avondale. Number 4 is Goodyear. And number 5 is Surprise. So there you go. There you go. Well, anyways, if you've been following the news, and you're going to want to just text the word agent to 623-AZ-RECON. That's agent to 623-AZ-RECON. We have covered this in a couple episodes, so I'm not going to get into the details. But the National Association of Realtors was sued, and they have a proposed settlement. And at the end of the day, it's affecting commissions. No longer, if you're selling a house and you want to offer a buyer a commission, you can still do it. And we still highly recommend that you do it.
Highly.
But it can't be listed in the MLS. So for a lot of buyers, that means it's not automatic, and a lot of buyers are being asked to sign in the state of Arizona a buyer-broker agreement, which basically, in essence, is a buyer is agreeing to, in the event that the seller does not pay a commission, that the buyer is going to pay for representation. This is a problem. It's a psychological problem. I mean, buyers are used to not having to pay for their buyer's agents.
There's a big gap in the amount of funds that they may need to have as well, too. That's it's a problem.
And there are, I'm not going to say workarounds, when you hire us to help you, when we represent you as a buyer, we know how to have conversations with the listing agent. And there's a lot, I'm afraid that my brokers are going to get mad if I use the word workaround, but there's going to be a lot of ways to skin this cat and the way to overcome these challenges. But the temptation is for buyers is to, I'm just going to go unrepresented. I do not want to engage in the services of a buyer's real estate agent because, well, it could potentially be extra funds. So we're doing a 3-part series this week. We've actually come up with 27 questions that you need to consider as a buyer on whether you are going to hire representation or not. And the first one, and if you text the word agent to 623-AZ-RECON, we're going to get you this entire list. We're going to go through a handful of them today. The first one is, when it comes time to looking at multiple homes, how are you going to coordinate with each listing agent in back-to-back time slots to ensure you leverage your time efficiently? Justin, when I have a buyer who wants to go take a look at 5 homes today, through the MLS, through our technology, through some of our software, we are able to schedule those in certain time slots, and we're either communicating digitally or virtually with the listing agent and the buyer, sometimes both, sometimes just the buyer, to get approval. So when we go out on a Saturday morning looking at homes, I got it all lined up for you. If you're going unrepresented, you don't have a buyer's agent, then how are you going to do that?
It could take you a couple days to do
It
that
could
for
take you a
5
couple
homes.
days. How
Yeah.
you got to get the number, you got to get the numbers of the listing agent. You got to call them, and good luck.
Yeah, I mean, how many listing agents answer the phone?
You
Which is
know,
terrible, but yeah, I mean that's you already won me over right there, Mike. I'm done. You don't need to ask
well, how much,
anymore.
and how much time do you want to invest in looking at homes, and how much time,
Time is money.
time is absolutely money, and I think, Justin, people just don't understand how difficult that is to connect with 5 different agents. If it's for sale by owner, even better luck. Meeting them at the property, selecting the right times, and then how are you going to get in?
Yeah, I find it amazing how good you all have become at making that time efficient and knocking out 5 homes in a matter of a couple of hours and not having to break up the day and just devote a whole day to seeing a couple of homes. Um, I, it's going to be a lot harder than what people think. When you look at the question, I'll just keep calling. Well, how much time are you going to invest in that? Are you going to remember to follow up? Because you're going to have to follow up. Most likely, they're not going to call you back. Which is
Okay, well, it's another question. I don't even know if it's on this list. What if the agent does call you back? The seller's got representation, and now you don't.
just makes you feel a little bit more intimidated walking into it. I feel like there's some people out there that could get over that piece of it. Obviously, if they're already going, it's like build your own pool. I want to say, it's going to be a learning curve, and you're going to possibly learn a lot of things the hard way. But yeah, that's it's going to be a lot more just that number one piece. Yeah.
Well, if you've listened to this podcast or have ever had a discussion with one of our real estate wealth managers, you know that one of the questions that we always like to ask is do you like money? I love money. Okay. And what I hate is overpaying for anything. And it's why buying a car is so stressful. And that's why when I finally make a decision on a big ticket item, I buy it and I stop looking. I won't go back to Amazon to find out whether I could have got it for cheaper or
then
not.
Then you're just stressing out even more. I agree with you there. That's one of the biggest stressors about buying a car. You get there, you're negotiating the car price, then they want to throw in, your trade in and all kinds of just overwhelm you with stuff, and you're just like, please let me get out of here.
So the question is that you have to ask yourself is how will you know if you buy a house without representation? How will you know if you are overpaying for a home? And please, please, whatever you do, don't say Zestimate. Don't say Zillow. The Zestimate is for entertainment purposes only. It takes me, depending on the subdivision, depending on the house and so forth, it takes me a solid, and this is why it's so dangerous for sellers to rely on any kind of automated home valuation system. If well, your house would probably take me a lot longer because you got a horse property and it's bigger. But if I'm looking at a tract home, it's going to take me a solid 30 minutes for me to really zero in on how much this house is worth. And if you don't have access to the data, you don't have access to Monsoon, you don't have access to the tax records, you don't know how to read the tax records, and you won't have access to the MLS or what we call RPR. These are some of the services that we use. It's almost impossible. I know agents that have been in this business for 10 plus years and can't tell you how much a house is worth.
Well, the consumers are going to go out and use the Zestimate because that's what they know how to do. It's the tool that they feel like is going to be most accurate. In a lot of those cases, it's way overestimating the home. And I've seen a lot of cases where it's way underestimating a home. It's going to be sad for that person that loses a bunch of money or overpays for the property. I mean, overpaying for a property, hopefully they get a solid appraiser on the home that gives them a real value on the property. That's what the bank's looking for when they make you do an appraisal. But how many times have we seen an appraisal come in right at value?
Yeah. And, my job when I'm working with buyers, obviously, I don't want them to overpay for a house. I want to put them in a position where they're underpaying for a house. I know I've told this story in the past, but last year about that house out in Queen Creek,
Hmm.
and I don't know why, but that agent didn't know how much that house was worth,
No,
and
not even.
I ended up getting it for like $60,000 under the appraised value.
I don't know who was more excited, me or you. I mean, I'm sure you were because that
Well, maybe you
it
can
was
help me
money
pay
in
the
your
bills
pocket, and you
then.
love money. But that was exciting. There was a little bit of a rush there, adrenaline rush there.
Yeah.
Seeing how that was going to come out.
All right. Here's the big one. I mean, and these are reasons why you hire a buyer's agent. And I'd love to give you this full list of 27 questions you should consider. But more importantly, would love to have a discussion with you. All you got to do is text the word agent to 623AZ Recon. That's agent to 623AZ Recon. Especially in this market, and especially when things get warmed up. And it does depend on the price point. But oftentimes, when a house goes on the market and I am submitting an offer on behalf of a buyer, there could be 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 other offers that come in. And if you don't have representation and you don't have an agent that knows how to negotiate on the phone with that listing agent, able to extract details about the other offers, all you're going to do is just get rejection letters, or even if the seller's willing to sign the rejection portion of the purchase contract. um, you have representation, you have people who know how to negotiate, because when you're going up against multiple offers, I'm telling you what, you are going to lose out time and time again.
Or you're going to end up way overpaying for the property, just because you have
Yeah.
some sort of emotional attachment to the property. Maybe you're sick of losing out on properties. I feel like this is one of the most important pieces here. But when I read over all of these are all very valid questions on what you're going to do in these negotiating points. And man, I would hate to see somebody go out there. I think you hear a lot of times agents say that they have multiple offers on the property, and there's probably not. But I can't imagine being a buyer where my wife has an extreme emotional attachment to the property. Maybe it's in the perfect place, and she's just,
We just wish you had an emotional attachment to you, pal.
yeah, I know. I do too.
She likes the kids.
Yes. Yeah. Thank God that I produced those with her. But you can see it going both ways. And I don't feel like there's a good middle ground there for
'Cause he-
somebody that doesn't know what they're
Because here's the deal: if you and Sabrina decided to buy a house without an agent, okay, and you submit an offer, and there's 3 other offers on the table, those buyers have representation. Those agents are on the phone with the listing agent. It is what I do. When we go see a house and we put in an offer, one, I've already had discussions with the listing agent. I know what we're up against, and I'm in constant communication with that agent throughout the day to make sure that if we have to adjust our offer, we're in a position of like our good friends, up there in Munns Park. It was that deal,
You
because
got it.
I just spent so much time on the phone with that listing agent. She kept calling me back and giving me updates, and do you know if they're telling the truth or not? You have to take people
I'm sure
at
they
their
are up
word,
there.
and I felt like
Yeah.
they were. And had those clients tried to buy that condo on their own, they wouldn't have had it, and they've been looking there for over a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'd like to think that, because you used Sabrina and I as an example, but I'd like to think, because I've been in the business as long as I have some sort of skills in this. However, just to let you guys know, I still would never go out unrepresented even though that I do this on a daily basis. Now, I don't do the pieces that you do, nor would I want to spend Saturday and Sunday trying to see 5 homes.
I can get you into 5 homes in 2 hours.
I would pay $2,000 just not to do that.
All right, let's
there.
do it right now. Let's do it. Yeah, let me see your wallet. All right, so now getting into the lending side, assuming that you finally get your offer accepted, and you've gone through all the inspection periods, which we'll talk about on our next episode, and you're working with your lender. And one thing, and I'll just brag on you, the one thing that I appreciate, one of the things that I appreciate the most about the Frederick team is when there are problems, because problems do arise, things pop up out of nowhere on credit reports and whatever the case is. I mean, you're on the phone and we're tackling this.
Yeah.
So assuming that you are buying a home without an agent, you're getting close to close of escrow, you've put $5,000 down in earnest money, and your lender says, oh, we can't close on time. We can close, but we can't close on time. I know what we do as agents, but what do you do as an unrepresented buyer?
And how many times do you actually hear this? I mean, I hear these horror stories from clients coming to me from other lenders, and here's the problem: is most of the time you're not hearing that in time to get in front of the emotions of the sellers from a lender, especially if you're not an agent, knowing when the right times are to ask that lender, hey, do we have an approval? Is your closing disclosure out? When do we have the clear to close? You know, maybe as a consumer, you're just expecting to show up and docs to be there on time for the day of closing that you wrote on your close of escrow, or excuse me, on your contract. Well, what happens when you show up the day of closing and the lender's never called you? Because this is very typical for a typical lender, for them not to call you when there's issues.
Especially, and it'll be a good warning. That's a lot of times that happens with big box banks.
Big box banks.
And happens a lot with just the online lenders, because they're pushing paper, they're pushing loan numbers.
Well, then your represented sellers out there, and they're curing you, and you don't. What's a cure?
What's a
What are you going
3-day
to
cure
do with
notice?
a cure?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really good shot you could lose your earnest money, and that house is going back on the market. You may not know what you need to ask the lender, and that's something that that you guys do very well when it comes to lenders, and you guys are the listing agents.
And here's the other thing. Well, and lastly, with it is you've put $5,000 down in earnest money. You now find out that you can't close on time. The seller, because they have a listing agent, has issued a 3-day cure notice. Your lender can't get it done. Seller now elects to cancel the contract. They will get to keep your earnest money in most cases. And you know who you don't get to go after? The lender.
Yep.
There's no recourse to go after the lender. Hey, Justin, you just cost me $5,000 because you didn't close on time.
Right. They're going to blame it on you as a consumer.
Now, you may come out one night and your taillights ripped out of the... I'm not going to let that go, buddy.
I know you're not. Well, you mentioned something else there. You said earnest money. You're writing the contract. What if you're like, I don't really want to put an earnest deposit down. Here's $500. You know, and you're competing against 4 offers. What's the typical earnest deposit, you know?
Yeah, well, you asked the question. Typically, it's typically about 1% of the purchase. That's kind of where we aim at. We always round up. If it's a $370,000 offer, we're going to do $4,000 and so forth. That's typical and average. But that's a lot of money.
Right. What if you didn't know that and you're writing $500 on all these and you just keep losing offers because you have the lowest deposit out there?
All right. In that situation, I can just keep going. So we're going to talk about this Wednesday. We're going to talk about this Friday.
Yeah.
You're unrepresented, and you tell that listing agent, hey, I want to offer $500 earnest money. I want to do this and that and that. You got to understand that listing agent does not represent you, and if you're a weaker offer, you're done. All right. Well, anyways, we'd love to have that conversation with you. We got a list of 27 questions that you should consider when it comes down to deciding whether you're going to hire a buyer's agent or not. We'd love to send you that list, but more importantly, we'd love to introduce you to one of our real estate wealth managers on our team and just show you our strategies and how we're going to help you succeed in the home buying process. All you got to do is text the word agent. Excuse me. I had to pause there for a second. I don't know what's in my
You're
mouth.
right.
Yeah, no, I'm great. I'm just enjoying the bourbon. All right. Text the word agent to 623 AZ Recon. That's text the word agent to. This is the worst ending of a podcast of all time. Like this
You never do
ending
this.
sucks. Like if you're still listening to this, what is wrong with you? But text the word agent to 623 AZ Recon. That's that's agent to 623 AZ. Just don't
All
call
right.
us. Don't
All right,
call
Mike,
us.
let's end
Yeah.
this show.
All right.